His peers have said that at one point during his time at the LA County's DA's office, he was one of the most well-respected prosecutors in the entire nation. Not even just well-respected, he had a 97% conviction rate over 85 jury trials. And he's not a Fed, like that's LA County. Right, and it established him as one of the most successful prosecutors in the nation. He was assistant head of the Major Crimes Division in Los Angeles. He's used to high-profile cases. He gets hundreds of requests monthly for representation, which, if it's a numbers game, he's turning down most of the requests that he's getting every single month. So how does he decide which cases to take on?
I'm so sorry. This is still first trial, right? Okay.
These three, Elizabeth Little works with Alan Jackson, so she's going to take the case with him. These three are present for the first and second trial. And I'm going to mix like first and second trial together here and there because a lot of the same people testify.
Yeah.
So it's not as pertinent. I mean, we're going to see the first trial and the second trial through, and you'll know exactly what happened. But a lot of the statements are going to be combined and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just getting you familiar with the attorneys. Now, these three are there for all three trials. He gets an email one day in Los Angeles, and that email subject line just reads, "Murder of a Boston Cop." He clicks it. It's from a woman named Karen. Little snippets read, "I am fighting for my life." At this point, this is when he finds out, I mean, at this point, everyone already knew, but John O'Keefe is a Boston police officer. Now, he finds out Karen is accused of murdering her boyfriend, who happens to be a Boston cop. Karen's telling him, "I'm fighting for my life against a blue wall, and therefore I'm marshaling whatever resources and advices that I can find." She includes autopsy photos of John O'Keefe inside the email, and when Alan Jackson clicks on them, he says, "It just didn't smell right. I knew pretty quickly some other forces are at play here," to point the finger at her, and it's because those forces want to point the finger away from somebody else. He's saying none of those autopsy photos look like someone who has been hit by a car. The fact that anyone, especially a prosecutor, would even suggest that it was done damage from being hit by a car is fishy. Alan Jackson looks into the case, and ultimately he decides John O'Keefe was murdered. No question. He died at the hands of another person that was not Karen Reed. He says there are people in that house that are actually responsible for his death and who murdered him, and that is how he decides to take on the case. He's going to travel from Los Angeles to Boston, and he's going to fight for Karen Reed. Just to give you an idea, Alan Jackson is an incredibly strong character. I would say that he has the assertiveness of, I don't really know who to, maybe like assertiveness of Brian Steele, but maybe without the Southern charm and like lay on the sweetness. He's very charismatic, but he is an aggressive attorney. Like he goes after what he wants.
I have two words. Do it. Do it. I'd love that. I'd love a shot at that.
Okay, so I said let's take personal.
That's not an invective. That's not a personal shot at Mr. Brennan. I'm just saying do it.
He's not trying to play nice all the time, which is why when he comes to Boston to take on this case, a lot of people feel like he's going to step on a lot of toes. He's this big hotshot attorney from Los Angeles representing Karen Reed. Before the first trial, most people did not like Karen Reed. It's not going to go well. And he's known to go into every case guns a-blazing. And so he's asked about it. And he says, I mean, I don't know how to tread lightly. I tread towards the truth, period. And if that ruffles feathers, so be it. If that pisses people off, get over it.
Okay.
So very different from the prosecutor's opening statement. The defense, they actually get David Yannetti up on the podium, which is pretty calculated. They're not going to let the fancy big shot LA attorney do it.
Get started at Planet Fitness today.
Everything in our collection represents a great deal we found on Skyscanner. We even got 2 matching tattoos.
We're going to let the local handle this case. And his voice is loud, concise, and clear. And the first words out of David Yannetti's mouths are,
Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death. And that means that somebody else did. Commonwealth will instead try to persuade you that Karen Reed supposedly had a motive to kill John O'Keefe because they were not getting along. You will conclude the notion that Karen Reed chose the start of a snowstorm to suddenly become violent out of the blue for the first time and intentionally kill her boyfriend by hitting him with her car and leaving him there with a house full of people inside is patently ridiculous. You will also learn that what's not ridiculous is that someone, not Karen Reed, ambushed John O'Keefe. Somebody probably didn't mean to kill him, but somebody went too far.
nothing can really beat the defense team's confidence in the opening statements. To say that your client was framed is a very bold statement to say in front of jurors. If you're going to say that, they're expecting you to back it up with a lot of evidence, with a lot of facts. And so for them to say that, it must mean something. Alan Jackson later says, "I've never been more confident in anything I've ever said in a legal proceeding in my life. Karen Reed did not do this. There was no collision. She's the victim of a botched and biased and corrupt investigation that was never about the truth." Some netizens don't agree. They write, "Karen admitted to hitting him and then changed her story after obtaining big shot attorneys." Others say, while the prosecution was boring, he was full of facts. This guy, he's more interesting, but it's all emotion, no facts. Others point out how Karen looks so smug, and it's so clear that she's excited to get away with this. But others disagree. They say it's natural for Karen to come across mad and bitter. I mean, she was set up. Do you want her to be remorseful as she's being framed? Like, let's make it make sense. But the biggest problem is there are testimonies that Karen says at the scene of the crime, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." So how do you go from "I confessed" to "never mind, I was framed"? One of the firefighters at the scene, Timothy Nettle. So Timothy, he's not on the board, but he's important. He's a paramedic. He gets called out to John's body. He says Karen was the most frantic of the entire group, just running back and forth, trying to press on John's chest, trying to wake him up, trying to talk to him to no avail. And he says, Timothy says, as he's trying to get information out of Karen, like, "Do you have any information on who this is? How did they get here? Do they have any medication allergies?" He says he gets no information out of her except, quote,
"I hit him, I hit him, I hit him."
How clearly do you remember her words saying to you, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him"?
I remember it very distinctly.
Timothy says he's trying to understand more of that, and he testifies that he's asking Karen all these follow-up questions. Like, what do you mean you hit him? Like, did you hit him with your hand? Did you kick him? What happened? What do you mean you hit him? Did you just confess to murder? What do you mean? She just keeps repeating, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." Timothy says he recalls those words coming out of Karen's mouth so distinctly. Another lead firefighter says he recalls Karen saying the same thing, but he's the lead paramedic on site, so he's got to work on John. So he tasks another person on his team on trying to get as much information out of Karen as possible. Katie McLaughlin, a firefighter. She needs to get information from Karen Reed. Basic information. Who is this man? What is his date of birth? What's his name? How did he get here in the snow? Does he have medical problems? She needs to ask these and get the answers. Katie says at first Karen is responding. She's cooperating. She's very distraught, but she's cooperating. She says, quote, "She was kind of moving around the scene a little bit, so I was just kind of following her. And then we came to a stop at one point, and I continued to ask, or I asked one more question." Katie says the last question she asks Karen is, "Has there been any significant trauma that happened before this?" Katie testified that Karen says, "I hit him." Quote, she repeated it. There was another woman standing across from her, Jen, who I believe at that point said, "You're hysterical. You need to calm down. You're hysterical." But Karen continued to say, "I hit him." And there was a police officer who was also in the vicinity with us, and he responded, "You what?" She replied it one more time, "I hit him." And that officer signaled to somebody, like, "We got to get the sergeant out here," which would be Sergeant Sean Good. Now, by this point, it's a cut and dry case. She drove probably when she shouldn't have. She was drunk. He's found dead in the snow, the last place that they both were, and now she's saying she hit him.
So you're saying 3 people at the scene. One paramedic, one firefighter, and then another, what, sir?
Firefighter, paramedic. So they're all firefighter paramedics.
Okay,
so far, 3 firefighter paramedics are saying that she said, quote, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him."
Okay.
Even during Jen McCabe's testimony, she said that she did indeed hear Karen say that. She declared it. Not once, but 3 times. "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." How is that not a confession? Additionally, Carrie remembers Karen pointing out her broken taillight in the driveway. Remember when they got to John's house? She said Karen did point it out at one point in the driveway.
Karen pointed out and said, "Look, my taillight." And she said, "Do you think I hit him?" And I said, "No, I don't think you hit him. What are you talking about? Let's just go find him." But the taillight itself, the piece was missing. And as you got closer, there's a metal sort of square, and one of the pieces was sort of sticking out.
Even later, when they find John's body, Carrie says Karen was frantic, running around saying, "Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead?" Carrie says she's screaming this more than once. Katie McLaughlin is saying it was not a question. It was, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But like everything is weird. I mean, this is weird too. First of all, if that's what was said, why is it not in a single incident report? Nobody included it in the incident reports. The firefighters that testified that, well, they say, well, we're writing the patient care reports. That's why it's not on there. Another firefighter, Timothy, he says the fact that Karen said she hit him doesn't really contribute to providing life-saving care, and they're just paramedics. He says it didn't really help at the time. Again, I wasn't able to chase anything down from that. I just kind of took it, noted it, and moved on with my aspect of the life-saving measures. But the defense is stuck on that because they're saying, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Don't you want to know the cause of someone's injuries when you're trying to save their lives? Isn't that very pertinent information? And these firefighters, Katie McLaughlin is the one that dropped John O'Keefe off at the hospital, never mentioned to a nurse, to a doctor, that he might have been hit.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, what's the regular practice for anybody in the comments who's in this line of work? When someone's in that kind of condition, are you supposed to at least say something, or is this normal?
If you've shopped online, chances are that you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You might recognize their purple Shop Pay button that makes everything just so much easier and safer whenever you're checking out. That's Shopify. When we opened up Grandpa Mango's art studio for the limited edition release of his artwork a few years back, Shopify was our lifesaver. You guys tag me or DM me all the time with your Mott's-inspired artwork, Rotten Mango stickers, or stickers of even the dogs, asking to send them to us for free. But honestly, I would love to show my support. And I'm sure so many of you guys would love each other's work too. If you have been thinking about opening your own online store, Shopify is the place to start. Integrated across their entire platform is their new Shopify Magic, which is a professional-grade AI tool that's easy to use and available as a consult 24/7. Need to enhance images for products? Shopify's professional-grade AI editing lets you make professional image adjustments like generating a new background for a product or having a background that doesn't match your theme anymore. You can switch it up. Even if you're struggling with product descriptions, Shopify Magic has got you covered. If you want to see less carts being abandoned, it is time for you to head over to Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/rotten. Go to shopify.com/rotten. Shopify.com/rotten. And what's even weirder is, okay, a lot of netizens are like, fine, maybe the paramedics have a point. However, Katie McLaughlin testified that one officer overheard and said, you what? Mm-hmm. Officers should be putting that in their reports.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's not. In fact, Sean Good was not there at that time. He was called later. But it's a different officer named Officer Seraph. And he says that he did not hear that. Okay. He did not hear, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. He says, I didn't hear I hit him, I hit him. She was just very visibly upset. And she said, this is all my fault, this is all my fault. And she was hysterical, asking, is he dead? Which a lot of people are saying, well, that makes more sense in the sense of she left him when she shouldn't have. Maybe she felt like this was her fault. She's putting the guilt on her. It's very different from, I hit him with my 6,000-pound SUV.
Yeah.
It's like a very different interpretation. And when all of these people are asked, if you heard this, why didn't you put it in your incident report? It's always some variation of, I didn't think it was that important. Or, I mean, I heard her saying it to somebody else, or I wasn't in charge of the incident report, or a very popular answer during this trial, I don't recall. So it's not in the incident report. And it's also not in the dash cam footage. There's dash cam footage of a police cruiser that shows up. And I will say it's very windy. Karen is screaming. She's running back and forth. But you don't hear her ever screaming, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But the part that netizens can't get over is fine. It's not in your incident report. Maybe you felt like you should leave it out. Fine, it's not in the dash cam footage. It was very windy. But you're telling me that all the officers at the scene, the firefighter, the paramedics, they hear her say, I hit him, I hit him. Her boyfriend is now laying, likely deceased, on the ground. And it's not strange to you at all that they wouldn't arrest her on the spot? Mm-hmm. That they wouldn't take her into custody on the spot, or at least interview her extensively on the spot, take her to the police station on the spot? So the question is, if that's true, why would all these unrelated officers lie about something like this? Are they just incompetent, not writing it down, and now they're trying to get the job done? Like, what's the problem? Well, maybe they're not all unrelated. One very strange detail about this case is John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer, is found on the front lawn of someone's residential home. That home is never searched. The homeowners are never formally questioned. It's like they're not even people of interest, even though a lot of people believe that John's injuries look more consistent with a fight rather than a car accident. Nobody questions them or searches their house. Does that seem like normal protocol?
Yeah, and that allegedly is his last time was
Alive.
and that's still their property.
It's their
isn't it?
property. It's their property. Have you ever seen
That's
someone
crazy.
found deceased on a property and that property is not searched extensively? It doesn't make sense. Why? During cross-examination, Katie McLaughlin, the firefighter that said that she distinctly heard Karen say, I hit him, is asked by the defense attorney, who's Caitlin Albert? Homeowner's daughter.
I went to high school with somebody named Caitlin Albert.
So do you know Caitlin Albert? I do. You're friends with Caitlin Albert. I would say more acquaintances, not close friends. I would say that we have mutual friends, so we might see each other occasionally because of mutual friends, but we don't have, one-on-one friendship or hang out regularly.
Who's her dad?
I don't know.
I can tell you, Caitlin Albert's dad is Brian Albert, the homeowner. How many years, how long of a span have you known Caitlin Albert? Since high school, so maybe 10? And you know her family generally. I don't. You don't know anything about her family? I don't know her family. And netizens just feel like it's incredibly hard to believe considering there were only 214 students in her graduating class. So she's saying, I went to high school with someone named Caitlin Albert, but also your class only has 200 people in the grade.
That's a weird thing to say. If you're asking me someone I know that I would just say, oh, I went to high school with them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I went to high school with someone named.
Have you ever been to her house?
Not that I recall ever being there.
Not that you recall, or you haven't. There's two different things.
I don't recall ever being there.
Okay, so you might have been there, you just don't recall.
I don't recall ever being there.
A lot of people don't like the evasiveness. If you haven't been there, just say, I haven't been there.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just say, I might have been there maybe once, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, if I were to ask you if you've ever been to her house, yes or no, you cannot answer that because you don't recall. You cannot recall, correct? I would say, I lean towards no. I have no recollection of ever being at her house. The defense shows a picture of Caitlin Albert and Katie McLaughlin on the beach. They've gone on trips together with big friend groups.
When was it though?
She makes it seem like she hasn't seen her since high school, but there are pictures just months before the incident of John's death where they were at a baby shower together, where there's pictures of them. And there's just copious pictures of them socializing together. And she states, well, that's because her friend group is friends with some of my friends of my friend group, but we're never really like friends. We never really hang out. But it's just the way I think it's less about the photos. It's less about like the photographic evidence. It's more so she's being so evasive.
It's almost like she wanted to say that Karen is guilty and that family has nothing to do with it. Don't even mention their name because I don't know them.
Yeah, so that's why people are saying it's weird. She's like the main one testifying that Karen said, I hit him at the scene. And turns out she's acquainted at the very least with Caitlin Albert. And now this is the part that's going to get confusing. I'm going to go over it now, but I will revisit it every time because it becomes very important. So don't get stressed if you don't recall everything. But we have the Alberts. Now, I've never been to Canton, but I feel like after this case, if the population of Canton, Massachusetts is 100 people, half of them are Alberts or related to the Alberts. So let's start with the Albert original siblings, the main siblings. Brian Albert is the eldest of 7. Only like 4 of the siblings matter. Brian is the top dog. He's married to Nicole Albert, who happens to be Jen McCabe's sister. Now, Brian and Nicole, they have kids together, but the ones that matter are Caitlin and birthday Brian Jr. They also have a dog, Chloe, very important. Then Brian has a brother named Chris Albert.
Okay.
Chris Albert is married to Julie. Julie happens to be best friends with Jen McCabe. Julie and Jen McCabe are best friends.
Okay.
And Jen McCabe is Nicole's sister.
Right.
They're best friends.
Okay.
They've been best friends for a really long time, and it's not because they're distantly related. They're genuinely best friends, and they're family. Now, Chris and Julie also have a few kids, but the only one that really matters is Colin Albert. They, Chris, Julie, Colin, used to live 2 houses down from John O'Keefe.
Used to.
Yeah, and this is very important.
Used to as like when this crime happened or years before the crime happened?
They moved away 1 year before the crime. And this is very important later because Karen will later say the only person she's ever seen John have problems with, Colin Albert.
Huh.
Teenager neighbor leaving drunk beer bottles on John's property.
I see.
Then there are 2 other main Albert brothers we'll get into.
Well, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Was Colin Albert at the party?
They find out that he was months after. In the initial reports, nobody lists him.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Colin's gonna be like the focus of the next episode.
Wow.
Colin's a huge focus later. Now, this is important also because Michael Proctor, no nudes yet Proctor, he's the main investigator. Well, one of the main investigators, right?
Yeah.
His sister is Courtney Proctor.
Yes.
Who's best friends with Julie.
Okay. So they're all best friends.
Yeah.
This whole house is a best friend party.
Yeah, they're all related or they're all best friends.
This is crazy. Like,
yeah.
Small town is so scary.
Michael Proctor's mom even said in like a social media post that the Alberts are like the Proctor's second family. When she got married, when Courtney Proctor got married, Colin was the ring boy.
Colin Albert is basically Michael Proctor's ring boy? Or
no, Courtney Proctor.
But aren't they married? Oh, sister. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, his wife is Elizabeth. She's not on here right now.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
So there is a death outside the Albert family house. And this man's sister is best friends with Julie Albert, who's best friends with Jen McCabe, and they're all related to an Albert, or they're married to an Albert. And there's a death outside. The man investigating the case is very close with the Albert family. So close, in fact, that they call them the second family to the Proctors, and yet he does not recuse himself. He does not pull out for a conflict of interest. Nothing. In fact, his sister is so close with Julie Albert that during the initial investigation into John O'Keefe's death, they call each other nonstop. And she, Julie, will not recall what was discussed in any of those conversations.
Courtney's brother is in charge of figuring out everything, what happened. Meanwhile, Julie Albert is like tapping that phone line nonstop.
Yeah. Okay, and I will say lead investigator is a little misleading. He does have a
I did a search for ways to make extra income as a software engineer, and data annotation came up.
After doing a short qualification a couple days later, there was a bunch of different projects to choose from. I don't have meetings, and I'm my own boss.
I had a dashboard full of coding projects paying me minimum $40 per hour. 100% recommend signing up for data annotation.
Smiling through back pain? Let us help. Voltaren.
Supervisor Buchanek that's going to be a huge part of the next episode, but Buchanek is also not a good person. But this guy, he's the one that is searching through Karen Reed's phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lead investigator, but like you get it. Now, Karen's attorney says, you'll learn that right from the jump, Michael Proctor predetermined the outcome of this case and never stepped foot inside the Albert home on January 29th, 2022. He never checked out if there were signs of a struggle inside the home. He never called crime scene technicians and other specialists to look for blood or other trace evidence within the home. He never asked Brian Albert for permission to go into the home and look around. Michael Proctor never applied for a search warrant to go in that house. Instead, he focused immediately and exclusively on Karen Reed, the outsider. No one in the Proctor family had ever called the Reed family their second family. No one in the Proctor family had been in a wedding party with anyone else from the Reed family. There are pictures of the Proctor family and the Albert family dating back to 2012. But these are not the only strange connections. Carrie Roberts lives on the same block as one of the paramedics that responds to the scene. But that's normal. It's a small town. Everyone lives next to everyone. But what's interesting is that there are many investigating bodies on this case. So just to not get it confused, some of the main police officers that first arrive at the scene are Sean Good, Paul Gallagher, and Michael Link.
Okay.
These are Canton police officers.
Okay.
Michael Proctor is a state police officer. Canton is the town.
Mm-hmm.
State police.
They have different jurisdiction, but they
Yes.
don't. Nobody's above each other, right? They don't work together.
No, they do kind of work together because they all
These
operate
three.
in Canton.
Yep.
He kind of works with them too.
Mm-hmm.
So they all kind of know each other for sure.
Right. Okay.
But different jurisdictions, different departments. Now, Carrie Roberts' daughter is best friends with Michael Lank's daughter, Officer Lank. In fact, the day right after, January 30th, 2022, Carrie and Jen McCabe, Reebok sisters that have never seen each other since 6-7 years ago when they went to buy sneakers at Reebok, suddenly they're hanging out the next day. They go to John O'Keefe's house to talk to Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe, and then they stop by Michael Lank's house. They say it's to drop off Carrie's daughter, but it's strange, isn't it?
They both went to drop
Yeah.
off Carrie's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Michael Lank is also best friends and grew up with Chris Albert.
Wow.
So right when the 911 call was submitted, it went to Sean Good, Canton Police. So this is the local jurisdiction. Canton, Sean Good, Gallagher, Link. They're all Canton.
Yep.
The troopers eventually get involved. Tully, Buchanan, and Proctor. But they're still going to keep working with the Canton Police. In fact, they're going to bring Karen.
I'm so sorry,
Yes.
but why did these troopers get involved eventually?
Do you see this guy, Kenneth Berkowitz?
Yeah.
He's the chief of the Canton Police Department.
Okay.
He says we should probably recuse ourselves for conflict.
Why? How so? Because it's too related? Too close?
Do you remember I was talking about the town selectmen?
Yes, Brian Albert. No?
No.
Oh.
Just the town selectmen. You got like 3-5 people that are
Yeah.
acting like mayors.
Yeah.
Chris Albert is a town selectman for Canton.
Okay.
Kenneth Berkowitz endorsed Chris Albert. Chris Albert and the other selectmen oversee the police department. They oversee the budgets. They oversee administration.
Dang.
They oversee public safety.
I thought Brian Albert is also a town selectman.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
What does Brian do again? Brian Albert? You're gonna tell me later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's a town selectman. Kenneth Berkowitz endorsed him.
Right.
And they all just kind of know the Alberts. So they're like, maybe we should recuse ourselves, call in the state troopers. But the state troopers, they don't really stop working with the Canton Police Department. In fact, when they tow Karen's car, they bring it to the Canton Police Department and storage it there. But that doesn't make sense, like you're saying, because all these cops, why are they protecting Brian Albert? Especially when the victim is a cop. Like, it just seems strange. Do they just love the guy? Or does it have to do with the fact that maybe they love Chris and Brian is Chris's older brother? Well, Kevin Albert, another Albert brother, is also a police officer, a detective at the Canton Police Department. So now these Canton police officers, their only connection to Brian Albert is not just Chris Albert. It's also Kevin Albert, who has been working for the Canton Police Department for 18 years.
Right. They're
So-
all colleagues.
They're all colleagues. But still, the victim is also a police officer. Why would they prioritize distant connections over a police officer who is deceased? Michael Proctor's text messages get read in court, and during the investigation, one of his childhood friends asks him along the lines of, with a dead body in the front lawn, the homeowner, in this case, is probably going to catch a lot of grief. Like, they're probably going to have a lot of legal troubles, lots of investigations happening.
Yeah.
Michael Proctor responds with just one word, nope. And then he texts again, and he explains why the homeowner, Brian Albert is not going to catch a lot of grief. He says, quote, "The homeowner is a Boston cop too. They're all cops." So this is not just a blizzard party.
Wait, so Brian Albert
They're all cops. John O'Keefe has been a Boston cop for 16 years. Brian Albert is also a cop with the Boston Police Department. Same police department, Boston. But he leads the fugitive unit. So this is like a big cop. There's 4 main law enforcement bodies that you need to know for this case. Let's just make it easy. First, Boston PD. Brian, fugitive unit, and John O'Keefe has been there for 16 years.
John works under Brian?
Not under him directly, but he works in the offender registry department.
Okay.
Brian works fugitive.
Okay.
This is like big boy cop. Then you have the Canton Police Department. This takes place in the town of Canton, not Boston. So Boston PD don't have jurisdiction, even though it's one of their own. And the death happened right outside another one of their own's house.
Okay.
Then you have Canton Police Department. They're the ones investigating first because it's in their jurisdiction. You've got Chris Albert being heavily connected, being the town select man, being friendly with the chief of the Canton Police. Then you have Kevin Albert, who's part of the Canton Police Department. You also have a potentially suspicious neighbor. So right across the street from Brian Albert's home is another Canton police officer, Tom Keller. And he conveniently says that his ring footage did not catch anything of importance that night, so he deleted the footage.
You're f***ing shitting me. Who deletes ring camera footage? Does anybody do that?
Not that I know of.
That's crazy.
So the Canton police chief is like, maybe we need to recuse ourselves because we've got way too much conflict going on. Michael Lank is best friends with Chris. Everybody's buddies. So they call in Massachusetts State Police, which are these 3. You got Tully, Buchanan, and Proctor. Proctor's got deep connections with the Alberts. And then you have, that's the 3rd body. Then you have the 4th body, the feds. Because the FBI has opened an investigation into John O'Keefe's death. I mean, they've opened an investigation into the investigation of John O'Keefe's death.
Is that after the first mistrial or?
It's actually before the first mistrial.
Really?
Because everything is so strange with this case. There are so many layers of suspicion, but let's just go the surface level.
So is that why Michael Proctor's text messages, all things are released, is because of the feds?
Yes. So the feds, they actually give it to the defense in the Commonwealth. The text messages.
Wow.
I don't think they would have gotten this.
So the feds are kind of the one that's helping in a sense.
In a sense, yeah.
One more thing. Like I see the colors, right? I kind of see I see all these cops in the navy blue, I guess, and then I see the lighter shades of blue. Are they both cops or?
Okay, yes. So let me go through my colors. We've got the red for the Albert family, the main Alberts, Big Albert, okay?
Yep.
And then he's the light shade of blue. So light shade of blue are any law enforcement personnel that are not investigating the case, that are involved but not investigating. So Brian Albert, John O'Keefe, right? And then you've got Kevin Albert, Chris. He's not, I mean, he oversees the police department, so law enforcement. The dark navy are people that have actively investigated the case. They're all law enforcement.
Right.
So the red is Big Alberts. The orange are the secondary Alberts.
That is so interesting. So Kevin Albert is part of the same department, but
Yes.
he's not investigating.
No.
But he's still like talking to them every day, right?
He was getting daily updates.
Yeah.
Even when Canton PD recused themselves.
That's freaking crazy. And that's just his brother's home.
Straight up brother.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list view. Next, I set a priority and a due date to keep things on track. I create custom statuses to organize my progress exactly how I want it. I like to add the action items field so AI can show me the next steps. I add my teammates as watchers so they're in the loop. ClickUp makes work easy, from personal projects to running a multi-billion-dollar company. Click the link below to create your workspace for free.
Brother's home, and
Yeah.
he's like talking to his buddies about the investigation.
Oh, and the chief of police,
Kenneth?
guess what the selectmen, they have control over appointing chief of police for Canton. And then you've got the McCabe's that are in yellow. So it's like red, orange, yellow, right? And then the green are prosecution and Auntie Bev. Pink is anyone
Working with Karen?
through Karen.
Okay.
And then purple is anyone that's important just for the events, but not necessarily part of the Alberts or McCabe's. And then white is not that important, and we might replace them. We're going to add more people onto this as this goes on. So
That's crazy, because this looks like you go to Kentum and then you pull the most connected or influential family together, and that's it. This is the whole family run the town.
And then someone is investigating, not them, but someone is found deceased outside their home. And so let's get into the first layer of suspicion before I leave you before the second episode, because I know it's getting long. But there are a lot of conversations about the initial 911 call, mainly because John O'Keefe is missing, and to the point where Karen is frantic and hysterical, yet she never calls 911. Some people think that's weird. Some people think that it's not weird, because imagine calling 911 on your cop boyfriend and then he just ends up drunk at someone's house, and now you're embarrassing him and everybody else involved, and you're like the hysterical girlfriend.
But didn't they also say that you can't call until like 24 hours or something?
You can't call for 24 hours. Like, the best you could probably do is lie that they're elderly and have like a medical condition, but you probably shouldn't lie to the cops at all. But like, they really don't care. They'll say he's an adult, he could be sleeping with his mistress right now.
Yeah, there's no missing persons case at all, blah blah blah.
But some people kind of critique Karen for that. Other people critique the actual 911 call, which was placed by Jen McCabe, and they say she's weird. The 911 call goes, "What's your emergency?"
Yes, I need someone to come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Mass. There's a man passed out in the snow.
You're in Canton? Hold on. I'm going to transfer over to Canton, please. You call me if you're connected to know it, okay?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
It's the towers. I'll try to stay in the line.
I think he's dead. You need, you got to get here ASAP, okay?
All right, I'm going to transfer in the line. I'm going to transfer to Canton.
Karen's in the background screaming, Jen, I know. Where are the blankets? I don't see the blankets. So Jen is trying to get the blankets from Carrie Roberts' car.
I know. Where are the blankets? I don't see blankets, Carrie.
You know what's interesting about this? You know who probably has copious amounts of blankets? The homeowners? Your sister, Jen? If you can't find the blankets, why wouldn't you go to your sister? Or your brother-in-law who's sleeping I don't know how many feet away from you, because he's a first responder and you know that. And I also think it's very strange, because I feel like every family has that one person that when shit really goes down, you call that one person. And it appears to be Brian Albert in this family. And he's sleeping right there and you don't wake him.
That is freaking crazy.
I feel like every family has that one person you call for everything.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, she gets transferred to Canton 911.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
So it went from there's a man in the snow to now there's a guy in the snow. A lot of netizens are critiquing. It feels like a lot of distancing language. Jen says, I'm just trying to communicate effectively with the police instead of saying my friend, my buddy, my guy named John. She's saying she's trying to be very assertive with how she's talking.
I mean, just the fact that she's not calling her sister or brother-in-law, that alone makes her way more suspicious than Karen, in my opinion.
Yes, and what's even more suspicious is that as she's calling 911, you can hear like Carrie and Jen arguing about what to do. So the whole time they're arguing about, do we flip him over? No, we can't flip him over because he like might get a spinal injury. Like you don't hear the words exactly, but later they'll all testify that this is what happened. And at one point, Karen is trying to warm him up with her body heat. Carrie's getting mad and she's like, shut up, Karen. Like there's so much going on. Would you not just be like, hey, both of you guys shut up. I'm going to get a first responder.
Yeah.
The phone with the ambulance. I know, honey. I know. Look, Carrie, you got to get off him, honey.
It's not like they've got it down pat. It's not like they know what they're doing.
You're saying like this whole thing all night long until the body gets taken away, nobody talked to Brian and Nicole all night.
No. Well, there's a phone call made
From
Jen McCabe to Nicole.
At what time?
Right at 6 a.m, like right around the time that they're supposed to be coming.
They're supposed to be coming.
234 Fairview.
On the way there.
Yeah, and
they pull up to the house.
They say it's a butt dial.
But still, did anybody ask Jen, why didn't you just knock on your sister's door?
I don't recall. Everything is I don't recall.
That is crazy.
Now, John O'Keefe is found laying in the snow at approximately 6 a.m. So far, nobody says they saw him in the snow prior to this, but Karen, she did in fact leave the house, and that's verified at around like 12:30ish. So that means his body would have been out there from 12:30 to like 6 in the morning. So why is Jen McCabe Googling at 2:27 how long to die in the cold? There is a Google search from 2:27 a.m. HOS, so typo, house long to die in the cold. Jen McCabe says that that's not what happened. She claims that when she got home after leaving the Albert residence, she was laying in bed, opened up a Safari tab, and started looking at basketball game results for her daughter's high school basketball game. Then she put her phone down, maybe with the tab still open, went to sleep, and then she's awakened by Karen's calling her nonstop. And then in front of 34 Fairview, Jen says, as the paramedics are pushing John into the ambulance, Karen is looking at her and is saying, can you Google hypothermia? She says, we held hands, we prayed, she had blood on her hands, and she said, maybe I've gotten my period, and she was just kind of all over the place. And then at one point, she grabbed my hands and she said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. And so I had my phone out, and it was cold, and my hands were frozen, and I have MS. Jen has MS as well. They bonded over that. Before this. And I took my phone out while she was screaming and shaking my arm, and I attempted to Google how long it takes to die in the cold. Jen claims that's the first time she ever Googled it around 6 in the morning. She said she typed it multiple times because Karen kept shaking her arm and her hands were cold, but nothing came out of the Google search. They just moved on, so she didn't address it anymore. Now, the prosecutors, they bring in a forensic expert that testifies that perhaps sometimes it happens. You open a tab, and when you research on that same tab, it'll log it as the time that you open the tab. The defense brings in an expert that's like, you're crazy. Your phone does not log the time that you open a tab. Your phone logs the time that you search something. Your searches are logged. You don't log when a tab is open.
That is crazy. That's like the most boomer explanation of how freaking Google history works.
Okay, but what's crazy is that this entire trial, I was thinking that the way that all of them full-heartedly just like try to sell this butt dial story.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is such boomer energy because you cannot tell anyone under a certain age, like my mom would believe it. My mom would be like, it does make sense that they would butt dial. And then everyone younger is like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, like how when was the last time you butt dial someone?
Yeah. And
meanwhile, everyone's butt dialing each other. Like, that's crazy.
And conveniently, the exact people that were involved last night.
And then also this tab search timestamp thing. We just invented internet. Like, what are you talking about?
Both Jen McCabe and Carrie testify that Karen asked Jen to Google that at the scene. Jen McCabe obviously has incentive to say that Karen told her to Google it, but Carrie Roberts, why would she say that? She's not even friends with Jen McCabe. During Carrie Roberts' cross-examination, Alan Jackson is asking, have you ever said or testified that Miss Reed asked you to pray and that Miss Reed said to Jennifer McCabe to Google hypothermia? No. You never said that. I've never said that. Is it your testimony that you have never said that Karen told you to Google hypothermia, or that you don't recall saying that? I don't recall saying that. But at the grand jury hearing, that's exactly what Carrie testified to. Then you were asked a
Some of the most brilliant minds in business. No, not you. Or you. You. You're always looking for new insights with QuickBooks Online. And you use QuickBooks Payroll to pay your employees. And you send invoices with QuickBooks Payments so you can focus on this. Get the full picture of your business on one platform. That's how you business differently. Intuit QuickBooks.
question at the grand jury hearing. What, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard? Did you recall that? I did not hear the question about Google being asked. That's not my question. In response to that question at the grand jury hearing, you testified at one point she asked her to Google hypothermia, correct? I'm sorry? Yes. You'll agree that that's a very detailed and specific recount of an event you recounted where you were in the back of a cruiser, and around that time you thought they were lifting John up, scooped him up in the gurney. You're so detailed that you talked about where you were standing next to the cruiser at the open door, correct? Yes. What the others were doing, holding hands, praying? Yes. You'll agree, at least for that purpose, you painted a very, very detailed picture in front of the grand jury, didn't you? Yeah? Except it's not true, is it? I did not hear her ask that. I was told she asked that. The answer to my question, Miss Roberts, and it's not a trick question, what you told the grand jury was not true. You never heard her, my client, ask anyone to Google anything, did you? I did not. And yet, that's what you testified under oath, under penalty of perjury in front of the grand jury, didn't you? I did. And the reason that you did that, and the reason that you said that false statement, was because someone told you to say it, correct? Nobody told me to say it. I knew it happened at that time, which is why I said it. How did you know that it happened, Miss Roberts, if no one told you it happened? Because we wrote a timeline. We already spoke about that. Jennifer McCabe helped influence your testimony. You testified to the grand jurors to that statement that you've never heard, correct? Yes. Here's another interesting thing. The federal investigation into the investigation of John O'Keefe's death cannot be mentioned during the trial. Auntie Bev said you can't talk about it. You can't bring up the feds, but you can allude to it. You can say another investigating party. Okay, so now there's two grand juries. There was one for this trial, and then there's another one for the federal case that happened. And what's interesting is all these witnesses suddenly are a little more forthcoming with the feds because you know that you should not lie to the feds. There was another grand jury hearing. Carrie Roberts, at the grand jury hearing for this case, she's like, I heard Karen Reed ask the grand jury for the feds. None. Not a peep. Because she tells the feds that she did not hear Karen Reed ask Jen McCabe that. But she does say that she saw Jen McCabe on her phone. She says, I saw McCabe on her phone. But you did not hear Karen ask Jennifer to Google anything. Correct. So what you told the grand jurors was in fact false. I misunderstood Mr. Lally's question. The question was, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard? I misunderstood the question. You misunderstood the question? Yes. What did you misunderstand about that question? I didn't know it was what you heard, so I was explaining what happened in the back of the car. I see. So you ignored the part, literally the part of the question where he said, what did you hear her say? That's your testimony? I didn't hear it. I obviously got the question wrong. I did not hear anybody ask about a Google search.
And that was a false statement, wasn't it?
Technically.
Technically?
Yes, technically.
What do you mean technically?
Technically, I was under oath, and I did not hear Karen asked Jen to Google it.
And yet under oath...
But I knew it happened at that time.
And yet under oath you said you did.
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
Objection. Was that a lie? Did you lie?
I did not intentionally.
But you did.
And
not intentionally.
okay, that's the end of
Understood
this.
the question, Mr. Jackson.
All right. Is there any other question, or is that it?
I didn't know what she just said.
I said, I misunderstood the question, Mr. Jackson.
Is it that aggressive?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
That's what you're saying now, correct? That's what happened. Can I ask one more question? In that quote, you said at one point, she asked Jen to Google hypothermia and how long. And then you corrected yourself and finished with Google hypothermia. What did you mean by how long? What were you about to say? I don't recall. Had someone told you something about a phrase that started with how long? I don't recall. For instance, how long to die in the cold? I don't recall.
I don't recall. I don't recall. I don't recall.
Like, for instance,
I don't recall.
So suddenly, not a lot of recollection happening. Carrie Roberts is a little odd. Some people think that Jen's energy is also very odd. So both of the other women that were there, I mean, some people think Karen's energy is odd. So everybody is suspicious to some, but it's weird that the Alberts never go outside. Attorney Little, Elizabeth Little, asks Nicole Albert, and inside your house, you had plenty of blankets and other items that you could have been comfort to a man laying in the snow, correct? Yes. And you were lying next to a first responder? Yes. And neither you nor your husband came outside to help Johnny, correct? We did not go outside because we had no idea what was going on. We were sound asleep until my sister came into my bedroom. Brian and Nicole are adamant that one, they did not hear anything. They were woken up because after John O'Keefe's body was taken to the hospital, Jen was instructed by those officers to go wake up the homeowners. They're adamant on that. And two, they're adamant that by that point, John was already taken to the hospital, so they didn't feel like they needed to rush down and outside and try to save him. In fact, Brian Albert Sr. says, I was just woken up out of a cold sleep from hanging out the night before. By the time I came downstairs, the police were already in my house. John was already gone. There was nobody to save. I mean, I would have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow cop. That's the most ridiculous question that people always ask. It made zero sense. What am I supposed to do? Run out the front in my underwear, running yellow tape around the fire hydrant? I didn't see that there was a reason to go outside like that. The police had already been in my house. They had already talked to us about what was going on. It was a snowstorm at that point. They were trying to conduct an investigation that I didn't want to interfere with or have anything to do with. He continues, at that time, there was no victim in front of my house, so there was no first aid for me to give. There was nothing else I could do. But they have a member of their family that they both testified sleeps in their bedroom, the very front window facing the flagpole. Mm-hmm. And this family member, people have testified and reported, Chloe is not good with humans, not good with strangers, and not good with other dogs. You're telling us she did not bark? She did not wake up the Alberts?
Right.
They just slept through it all three of them? We're going to go into a lot more of the suspicious stuff in the second episode, such as Brian Higgins, who happened to be in the house that night, who also had a crush on Karen Reed. So that's going to get very complicated. But while Carrie Roberts is being interviewed for the second time inside of Jen McCabe's house, right after they made a timeline of events, Jen McCabe is in a family group chat with Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, the homeowners, and her husband, Matt McCabe. And they start messaging. Matt McCabe texts into the group chat because Chris Albert apparently reported to all of them that troopers had come into his place of business, so his wife owns a restaurant, and they're asking about the case. So Matt is saying, tell them the guy never went in the house. Brian Albert responds, exactly. Matt McCabe is updating the family on where the troopers are in their neighborhood, you know, coming to talk to Jen and Carrie. He says, troopers back out front, but in front of the Asian house, and looks like more has been dug up there, or at least looks like it.
Wait, what does that mean?
Like maybe they're digging more into the case. Oh. Now, Jen texts, Carrie is going over the timeline, which indicates that she's listening to Carrie talking to a trooper during her second interview. So Jen is listening. Carrie is going over the timeline. Matt responds, very weird that she's barely been interviewed. The whole dead comment was just told. What? The whole dead comment.
What's that comment
Karen
again?
called and said, John is dead. The whole dead comment was just told. I was supposed to have them talk last night and forgot to tell Proctor to call them. So I don't know what that means, but you're just going around telling cops to call people to investigate?
Is he like listening in on their interviews?
Yeah, it seems like it. They'll deny it.
He's giving a live broadcast of what the police is getting right now.
Yeah, but they'll say that they were just in their kitchen eating dinner and they heard bits and pieces, bits and bobs, but people don't believe it. Brian Albert responds to that, hope they don't think she's making it up after the fact for some reason. But if they barely interview Carrie, that's...
It's Wayfair's biggest sale of the season. For 5 days only, get up to 80% off everything home during Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale. Plus, way more deals of the day. And 24-hour surprise flash deals on home finds in every style. And get it all with fast and free shipping on everything. Yep, even the big stuff. Save up to 80% off everything home during Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale, July 24th through 28th. And don't miss summer's biggest home sale.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Quit smoking with hypnosis? Yeah, right. Instead, start stopping with Thrive.
It's on them. Matt responds, yes, she was hardly interviewed and I think just answered what was asked. Jen responds, are you listening? Cops here again. Nicole tells her sister, call us after. Matt responds, this girl could write a book nonstop talking about Carrie Roberts.
She's talking a lot.
Yeah. And Jen McCabe responds, I love it.
What? What does that mean? Like,
then another text. She's telling them everything. Nicole responds with just one word. Good.
That is so chilling.
And that is where I leave you with part 1 of this case. Because none of this makes sense. And in part 2, everything we thought we knew about this case flipped on its head again and again and again. And there's so much, like, it doesn't make any sense. What are your thoughts on this so far? Have you heard of this case? And I think one of the main reasons that we found it really hard to get into it was everybody has such strong opinions. And I felt this was the first time where you could have such differing forensic analysis, forensic experts testifying to the same exact thing. Like, how is it up in the air whether or not a Google search was conducted at 2:27 a.m.?
Yeah.
But the fact that everything can be interpreted in different ways for this case just makes it weird. So it really does feel like a lot of emotions play on how people decide on whether or not they think Karen did it or not. But one thing's for sure, I would not trust these people. I would not trust these text messages. I will say Karen Reed's voicemails, yeah, they're crazy, but I don't think it doesn't make sense.